Welcome. This is Wednesday, the 18th of August, 2021. This is the Golden Nugget Nation weekly Q&A session. And I am Gary. And I'm so happy and grateful and pleased to have you listening to this broadcast, whether you're in attendance or you have chosen to listen to it at another time that's more convenient for you. I just want to begin by talking about the subject tonight is going to be on prayer. Now, I am not here to try to convince people that they enter into some kind of religious faith movement or some kind of dogma that they have, because prayer is a subject that I think is greatly misunderstood in the world. And hi there, Susan. And I came up with a wonderful writer by the name of Neville Goddard. And I've been reading his works, and he's really quite very much inspired me. So let me begin with this. When I was told as a child that I should pray, it was the most uncomfortable feeling for me, because I was told to kneel beside my bed and to ask God for whatever I wanted. And I didn't like it. And I was told that I should pray out loud. I think that was because whoever was trying to teach me how to do this thing wanted to hear what I was talking about. And all I felt was like every syllable that came out of my mouth was just being sucked up on the mattress, and it wasn't going anywhere. And this is kind of like when I was there. Please help me be a good boy. Please help our family to not be poor anymore. Please help us so that we don't have drunks anymore in the family. Please help us with, those were the things that were going on. Nothing of gratitude. Everything was my wants and my needs, being a very needy individual. And at the same time, believing that my prayer, whatever I was saying, was just being sucked into the mattress in front of me, and it was going nowhere. And I think a lot of people, when they say, oh, I need to pray about this, or I need to have a prayer, they're really saying, I'm lacking. I have a lot of lack, and that's what I want to focus on, is what I'm lacking. And I'll tell you what, God, if you give me the things that I'm lacking, I'll be your greatest fan. I will start telling everybody about what you've done for me and how wonderful everything is, and what a beautiful and wonderful life you have provided for myself. And when it doesn't happen overnight, when it doesn't happen by the end of the week, they kind of sit there and say, well, I did buy the lotto ticket and it didn't come through. So obviously I'm not going to try that prayer thing anymore because it doesn't work. Do you know that there are over 1,700 peer-reviewed journals, professional journal articles that write in regards to the efficacy of prayer? And they have done really amazing stuff. They've gotten prayer groups. In the beginning, they were just going to like prayer groups, and they would ask them, we have someone across town named Fred, and we have another person across town named Bill, and we would like you to pray that Fred would get his strength and he would regenerate and that he will get well. And Fred, the same thing. We want that happening. What the prayer group did not know is that what they had was a fungus named Fred in a jar across town. And they had Bill, the other kind of bacteria. But what they were amazed about is that they just grew and went proportion beyond, like the other jars sitting next to them that had the same bacteria, the same fungus, but they were just developing as normal. But Fred and Bill, they really just shot off like crazy. And so then they started saying, okay, well, if it works on fungus and it works on bacteria, what about people who are really ill? Let's find people who believe that if somebody prays for them, they'll get better. And let's find people who say they don't believe that prayer will do them any good whatsoever. So go ahead, spill the words that you want. But the research articles came back that both people, both the receivers, benefited. Their medical recovery, their blood chemistries, everything were rapid. Their healing was rapid. And so they came to the point where they realized it wasn't the receiver of the prayer that was really important. What was important was the people who were offering the prayer. It was what they believed, what they thought. And so they wanted to test for that. So what they started doing is they started taking people who, of course, there are prayer groups, that's one group. Then you get another group of people who absolutely think prayer is a worthless waste of time, but they are willing to be taught a procedure about how to pray. And then there's the other group where they just come and have a nice social talk and they just talk about Fred. Oh, we hope Fred gets really well. We hope something's going on. So you got 3 different patients, you got 3 different groups of people doing different procedures. And what they found was group 1 and group 2, both of whom are praying, one who don't believe that prayer works and one that believes that prayer works with great efficiency, both had great healing on the other end. And then you had the group that just was talking, and that guy just kind of just got well as per normal, nothing accelerated, nothing unique. Now you've got 1,700 peer-reviewed such reports in all kinds of journals across the world about the efficacy of prayer. And this is why a lot of hospitals and things like that pay for chaplains to be on staff. They, even though the doctors may not believe in this process, they might think it's witch doctoring, it is so peer-reviewed and so strict, and the science is so strong in regards to people do recover. So let's let them do it. Let them talk to religious counselors. Let them have whatever rights or they believe in, because that seems to help with the recovery. So here we are. I'm going to talk about this guy named Neville Goddard, because Neville Goddard says prayer is the art of assuming the feelings and the being of having that which you want. That is what he claims prayer is. Prayer is simply assuming that you already have, that you are being in that state of already having it, whatever it is that you want. So it's an assumption. It's an assumption. I already have this thing. And this is where it fits into the law of gratitude and the law of attraction. Because with this foundation, you've already begun the process of saying, okay, I want to express myself to the universe, to God, however I wish to define it. And I really love what Alan Watts said about God. He said, water does not care what you call it, but if you fall in it, you'll still get wet. And that's how I kind of look at that. Some people just have a problem with that word God. Okay, change it to universe, change it to divine intervention, change it to cosmic energies, change it to whatever you want to. That God does not care what you call God. And so just go on and move on from there. So prayer is a productive action. It is an action that is designed to produce what you already know is. That's the only way I can imagine. So if it's a productive action, I want you to understand that if prayer is what happens to you when your feet are moving, then when you are actually running, that can be prayer. If prayer is what happens when you're driving down the road to work or driving home from work, then that can be your prayer. You can have that process. Because it's your state of being. It's not what you're doing at that exact moment. It's the state of your being. So I want to tell you a little bit about my grandfather. He was a Hopi elder. And one day I was 14 years of age, and I asked him, I said, grandfather, what's this thing about rain dances? And he looked at me and he said, yeah, we have a dance. He says, but that's not the rain dance. He says, that's after the fact. That's a celebration. And I said, well, what do you mean? He says, we go to a place that is sacred to ourselves. And he says, and when we get there, we get in the state of feeling the air cool down because dark clouds have come over. We begin to, in our minds and in our eyes, get to hear in the distance the rolling of thunder. We can feel the wind begin to shift. Then we start to feel the wetness on our forehead. And as the rain falls and hits the earth, we start to get that smell of when the earth is being disturbed by rain. And for us, it's real. We begin to feel all of this. And when those of us who have gone to do the rain dance, and we have done this portion of it, and we all are in agreement that we all are experiencing all of these emotions, thoughts, and feelings. He says, that's when we do the rain dance, because we are celebrating the rain that comes. We are celebrating that it's going to happen. And I just looked at him in total disbelief. 14-year-old kid. I mean, I'm skeptical about everything in the world. And I said, so how long from the point you feel these things to the time it happens? He says, sometimes a day, sometimes two, most of the time by nightfall. And he didn't really care when the universe provided the rain. All he knew is it was coming, and he knew it. He knew it in his bones, and he had no doubt. And he had already jumped up and down and danced with his fellows, maybe for 4 or 5 hours, just celebrating and being rejoicing and thanking that the rain that they had seen, felt, smelled was going to be. It was just a state of it was coming. And that's where they were at. And I asked him, I said, what's the fastest that's ever happened? He told me, Woshak's grandson, he would just say, once we had just started to beat the drum for the dance, and the sky immediately clouded up and the rain came. And I said, well, was it cloudy before? He goes, no, it was absolutely clear. We hadn't had rain in 90 days. We needed the rain. Everything was dry. And he said, and it came. He said, because we knew it was coming. Everything's done in the time of the universe, but we asked for it and we received it immediately. Now, Hopi spirituality has absolutely nothing to do with Christianity or even a religion in and of itself. It's just a spiritual connection to everything on the planet, everything in the universe. They realize that everything is connected and that we are all brothers and sisters to each other. So for me, there's a knowledge that language, whatever language I speak, is not the language of the universe. It's not the language of God. It's not the language of the cosmos. I was taught this thing by people that I grew up with. And I will tell you, when I first came to England, I was doing some treatment work in a center in Bournemouth where everybody was being sent from Glasgow to there. And even though they told me they were speaking English, I did not understand hardly a word they said. And the ones I did understand, I can't say right now. And they said those words far more frequently than the other words. And I just could not understand. I would say, did you just speak English? Oh, that's the wrong thing to ask somebody from Glasgow when they've just explained something to you that you didn't understand. But what I want you to know is I am of the opinion, and this is where I love this information that Neville provides us, is the language of God is our feelings, our emotions, and our visualizations. Those things that we feel, those things that come from the core of our being, those things that we see in our mind's eye as is, as the way it is to be, it's going to be, how we want it. And if we sit there, and I think this is, people, I go back to the teachings of Jesus, because most people in the Western world know something in the Bible, know something about what he taught. But he often said, don't fall into the habit of using a multiple supply of words and get into these vain repetitions of phraseologies and things like that, because they don't avail you anything. And because he taught that, he was told, well, how do we pray? And he taught them, the Lord's Prayer. And a lot of religions use the Lord's Prayer as if it is something sacred and special, because this was something that Jesus himself said. But really, what Jesus was teaching, there's a pattern. There's a pattern to how you pray. And that pattern is, you have to address who you're talking to, because you need to have a relationship with that. And so if you want to say, I have a relationship with the cosmos, I have a relationship with the universe, I have a relationship with divine in knowledge, I have a relationship with God, or I have a relationship with Buddha, Jesus, whatever, fine. But you need to create that sense of intimacy. And then you need to get out there and start being grateful. Start talking about what you are grateful for. And then start talking about what it is you want, you're going to have, not so much based on need, but based on, I can see it now. I am taking actions and I'm moving in that direction. I don't see it all yet, but I'm seeing it and I'm grateful for it and I want to talk about it. And then if you're in groups or whatever, you need to be in unity about that. And this is where people get messed up, is they kind of get together with people who aren't in unity with the whole concept. Inside, they're saying, well, I really don't want that, but I prefer to have this. But you need to be in unity. You need to have this gratitude. So feeling is the precursor to any expression of gratitude, because gratitude is a feeling. You are grateful, you are thankful. It is a powerful force, which is a precursor to the manifestation of that which you already can feel, see, smell, taste, touch. Going to receive. It's going to be manifest. It's going to come to you. And this is where people get off, because they start saying, oh, I really want to have X, but they don't believe it. They don't see it. They would like it, but it would be nice if, no, when you are in this state of being, you already have it. Grandfather used to say, the problem with white men is white men say, I will believe it when I see it. He says, we Hopi, we say, I believe it and I will see it. That's the difference. It's a big difference and it's an important difference. So if you lack, you're going to manifest more lack in your thinking. If you feel abundance, you're going to manifest more abundance. If you feel a deficit in love, you're going to feel a lack of love in your life. If you feel an abundance of love, you are going to have more love. You're going to have greatness happening. If you feel happiness, then you're going to manifest happiness. This is the law. And it's just as simple as that. There are so many people say, but I don't have that. Okay. And when do you think you're going to get it if you keep focusing on the fact you don't have it? Why don't you start focusing on the fact that it's coming? You have it. It's already yours. This is the part of where people get out there and they say, name and claim. Well, it works. Name it and claim it. And then allow that want, that why to work in such a way that you get to manifest how it's going to happen, and then it becomes yours. It's actually there physically. So here's the challenge, really. We got to practice creating these images, these emotions, these feelings that we create in our mind, in our heart, in our imaginations. We have to get a true sense that they are happening now at this extreme moment. And you have to get yourself into that state. It is all state dependent. You have to be in that place of being and not leave it. You have to be there. It has to be constant. It has to be going on. The universe begins manufacturing. It's coming to your aid. It's going to make it happen. You can't just say, oh yeah, I believed it this morning, but at lunchtime, I started thinking, I'm wasting my energy on that. No, lunchtime, you got to be just as much into the feeling state as you were at breakfast time, but you just got to keep going on. And as you're in this process and as you're in that state of being, and as you can see yourself happening, be thanking God, be thanking the universe, be thanking the cosmic, divine center of everything with great sincerity for that which you are having and receiving. And I just want to kind of make a short example. Let's imagine that you have a YouTube channel and you have 10 people who have subscribed. And you've been doing this now for 3 months, and you would love to have 1,000 people. You really would love to have 1,000 people. And you're working at trying to do a better YouTube channel, and you're trying to get more interest built up, but you still stay at 10 subscribers for some reason. And you know who the subscribers are. It's your best friend, it's your mother, your father. The neighbor's dog has a YouTube channel, and so the dog is a subscriber to you. And you kind of realize that this is where things are. But just imagine if you started seeing 2 extra zeros every time you saw that 10, you would have 1,000. And you start seeing that in your mind. And then when you do look at the page, you actually start seeing 1,000 in your mind. It's there. You believe it, you see it. Just imagine if you start thinking, what would it be like to have one of my videos go viral? the feelings I would have, the joy I would feel. What would it be like to see the number of likes that I have become like numbers that I have? So right now I get about 7 likes out of the 10 people because they like me. But what would happen if I saw a K next to that 7? That means 7,000 people liked my video. And you start to get excited. You start to feel that this is achievable, that it's happening, because it's happened. You can go to all kinds of channels and see where this has happened. Why can't it happen on yours? And so you begin to see it, you begin to believe it. And suddenly you get on and you start to say something, or you decide to try something different. So you're going to do a different approach. Maybe you're going to interview somebody, or maybe you're just going to throw away the script and just talk from your heart. And all of a sudden you see the numbers start to change. 15 people, 25 people, but in your mind, you keep seeing 1,000. And the day comes, you have your first video. Oh, it wasn't a big 7 million people watched my video, but you had 60,000 people who watched the one video. Maybe somebody famous saw your video and promoted your video on their channel, said, you got to watch this one. This was really good. And suddenly you see the views on that one video jumping up, and you see people have subscribed. You start to see people subscribing. You start to see a lot of likes. Your belief in yourself begins to increase. It is possible. I can get to 1,000 people. And when you achieve it, it's almost going to be like counter, because you've already lived there. You know, it's like you want to celebrate it, but at the same time, it's like, I've been at 1,000 people now for 2 months. Just the number caught up. So now you say, what would it be like if I just added one more zero? 10,000 people. Go for it, because you already know that if you can go from 10 to 100 to 1,000, you can go to 10,000, you can go to 1,000,000, you can go wherever you want to go. And if you make it your productivity to do that, then do it. So let's get back to prayer. Remember when I said, when you are moving your feet, you're in that state of prayer? Just imagine what it'd be like if you are out doing your daily run because you enjoy running. You got a path, and you do 3+ miles, whatever, in a day. And you start going, and you start off and you start to feel that euphoria start to build up in your body. As you start to run, you get the fresh air coming into your lungs. You're looking around. It's a beautiful day. You see beautiful trees. There's a quietness as you're going along the road. You can just hear your feet tapping on the pavement or on the side, on the grass, whatever it is, as you're running. And then the next thing you start thinking, oh, I'd be so grateful. I'm so happy that I can see myself at 1,000 viewers on my YouTube channel. I'm so grateful. I can actually, right now, I can see that there will be a video that's going to go viral. I can see that somebody is going to, by accident, click onto something that I have and watch it, and they are going to be able to pull attention to me. You start seeing, and I thank you, God. And as you see it, thank you, universe. Thank you, divine center of the cosmic universe. Thank you, spirit. Whatever it is that you believe, thank you, Buddha, thank you, whatever. Just keep going, because even though you're running, you are in that state of being known as prayer. You're in that state of having it already, because in your mind, you can already see it. You can taste it, you can smell it, just like those Hopi elders would do when they would go to a sacred spot and they would start to say, I can hear the wind shift. I can feel the light of the sun coming off of me because the clouds are coming in and they're thick. And I can hear the distant roll of thunder and light is happening over on this side. And I can feel the small drops of rain. It's all the same. And so I just want to leave you with just a final thought. Never go to sleep feeling discouraged or dissatisfied. Never sleep in the consciousness of failure. Sleep is the time when the male or the conscious mind turns from the world of senses to seek its lover or the unconscious self. The conditions and events of your life are your children, formed from the molds of your self-consciousness and impressions in sleep. So often people go to bed and all they do is worry about lack. Stop it. Stop it tonight. When you go to sleep, just think about all that you have. If you have a gratitude stone, grab that gratitude stone and express your gratefulness for everything you have. And as my grandmother used to say, when I have worries and concerns and I go to bed at night, I turn them all over to God because I know He's going to be up anyways. And in the morning, when I wake up, if I want any of them back, they always seem to be less than when I went to bed. So, Susan, thank you for sitting through all this. How are you? Speak up. You got.
Hello.
Hi, how are you? It's so
Hello.
good to see you.
I'm great. I really enjoyed that, Gary. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. I kind of thought it would be a different topic, but it's something that I think entrepreneurs really need to keep in mind is the fact that there are no accidents and they are always being aided if they ask. You know, it's like, you ever read Harry Potter books? You know,
I didn't know the kids did. I never read any of them, to be honest.
yeah. One of the blessings of my life was I moved to a small town. Well, not really a small town. It's called Boise, Idaho. It's perhaps the biggest town in Idaho. But when I went there, I went to a local school that was nearby because I just missed children. I just kind of, you know, miss. And I offered to come in and do anything to help the school out. And they wouldn't let me do it because I had no children in the school. They refused to do it. But I kept coming back and saying, look, I'm just really close by. I've got a lot of free time. I'd be happy to, you know, schedule and come in. And finally they said, look, nobody wants to do this. We have 6 blind children attending the school and they have library time. So whenever all the kids are reading books and things like that, we don't have any books in Braille. We don't have anything like that. So if you're happy to come in and read stories to the children, then we'll have you. And so I went and the children all wanted to have Harry Potter read to them. And at that point, there were only like about 5 books of Harry Potter. And we read them all through that whole year. But the one thing that I remember so clearly was Dumbledore said, whenever you are in need, help will come. You know, help will be provided. And the universe is very much that way. You know, when there's lots of times you need help, but you're asking out of lack. You know, you need to ask in you have a need, but you have to ask in knowledge that it's coming. That's my
and the belief that it's coming. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I couldn't agree more. What a wonderful story though about, you know, going and reading to the kids as well. That's lovely.
Oh, you know, I'll tell you, one of the things that was really something is, you know, one of the books, Ron's wand is broken and somehow he tries to throw a spell on some bad dude and it reverses and he ends up having slugs come out of his mouth, you know.
Right.
And these blind kids had no idea what a slug was. They did, you know, and I was going, and they were there like, why? What was a slug? You know, they didn't know. And it was a real shocker to me that, you know, I'm sure their parents, they've never touched one. They never anything. They didn't. And so at the end of the class, I walked over to the librarian and I said, you know, we're reading this thing about slugs and the kids don't know what a slug is. And I don't know how to help them. And she was such a creative person. She said, try this. She says, go buy some grapes, peel the skins off the grapes, and put a little bit of high fructose syrup all around them. Bring it back in a bowl tomorrow and have them reach in and touch them and tell them this is what slugs feel like. And then, you know, have a cloth so they can wipe off their hands. Well, I did that. And when I got done with my session and they went to go join their classes, they were telling it, we taught slugs today. Oh, they're so gross. and my story time changed from there because I was reading way ahead to try to make sure I had all kinds of props to make it like the highlight of their day when they came for library time.
Wonderful.
Really
wonderful. But the other thing as well, it allowed them to interact with the other kids and share a knowledge of something that they wouldn't have been able to do beforehand.
Yeah, because I guess before they just kind of sat
quiet because they didn't know what they were talking about, what the other ones would be talking about.
Yeah. But it was a real blessing, and it kind of opened my eyes to a whole new world that I didn't know before. But you know, the universe will bless you with all kinds of knowledge so that you can gain experience and move on from there.
It's amazing though. I mean, it's and the whole gratitude thing as well, you know, like I always maintain that you receive so much more from giving. And you gave of your time and, you know, and the joy that you got back from doing that, working with these kids and teaching them and allowing them to, or showing them how to have different experiences, that must have felt amazing.
Well, I'll tell you that I could just imagine that you could have just read to them. But it was the loving them enough to try to give them the experience so they understood what they were reading, which created for me the big blessing. So it's like we all have a job, a calling, or whatever in life that we're going about. But if we magnify it, if we make it bigger, it really benefits people around you because of that. But you're the one who gets the greatest bang for your pound. I mean, it's just right there for you.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for attending.
No, as I said, I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
I loved having you here, Susan. I guess tomorrow morning I'll see you as I go into the gratitude group to do a share.
That would be lovely. Thank you. Yes, I'll be there.
Awesome. All right. Well, let's go and rock and roll. Folks, thank you very much for attending Gary's Glorious Golden Nugget Nation Q&A this evening. Thank you so much for being here. I hope that it has benefited you. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel and give me a like. And also, one more thing. Go out and win. Thank you. Bye, Susan.
Bye. Good night, Gary.
Good night.